Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy. I am Morgan, and today I am talking about pagan veiling. I know it seems to be a pretty popular topic on social media right now, and I wanted to share not only what it is, why witches do it, but my personal experience with pagan veiling, because I do actually practice veiling in my magical practice. So when I saw that not only this topic is making the rounds in the witchy community, I got really excited because I'm like, I actually know about that. So I definitely wanted to do a podcast episode on it. And this month is really perfect for that. And I'll explain why later. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I personally was first exposed to pagan veiling during a class that I took from Demi Fox earlier this year. So this is a fairly new practice for me. It is something that I never really heard about, never really dove into until I took this class on Morgan Le Fay from Demi, who has been on the podcast before. Amazing, amazing woman. So that's when I was first exposed to it, was just earlier this year. So what is pagan veiling? By definition, veiling is the act of covering the head or face. Okay, so pagan veiling is basically pagans who veil, or doing this for magical purposes, for meditation, for ritual purposes, or for energetic purposes. Okay, most of us understand veils for weddings or funerals or different cultures, most notably the Muslim religion. These are all places where we know about veils and we understand veils, or we have seen the practice of veiling in action, okay? But veiling actually spans thousands of years and several cultures, okay? The act of covering the head for protection or for spiritual beliefs doesn't just go back to one culture or one religion. It spans thousands of years and several different cultures, several different religions, all right? It is becoming more popular with witches or pagans today, which that's what we're going to explore, is specifically pagan veiling. So centuries ago, it was believed that a witch's power resided in their hair. So covering it was a form of protecting their power. This is often why during the witch hunt, the witch trials, a lot of women had, before they were hung or drowned or burned, they had all of their hair chopped off. They were shaved. Their heads were shaved, because it was believed that if they were a witch, that's where their power resided. And so in a last-ditch effort to keep the witch from casting a curse on the whole town, they would shave her head and then they would kill her. So today, many witches and pagans veil daily. And I think that's what you see if you type in pagan veiling on like TikTok or Instagram. You're going to see a lot of pagans coming forward about daily veiling. But a lot of pagans or witches just do it ritually, okay? So there are a number of reasons why pagans are choosing to veil. And the first one, the most important, I think, or the most common reason, is for shielding, all right? So it is believed through a lot of different belief paths that divine energy flows in and out of the top of the head. Okay, this is the crown chakra. This is your connection to not only your deities, but your higher self and your divine energy source. That is the crown chakra, the top of your head. So by covering the top of your head, you are actually protecting that connection, because some spiritual belief paths believe that like psychic attack can happen through the top of your head. So a lot of pagans or witches will cover the top of their head as a form of shielding or as a form of energetic protection, okay, to kind of foster that connection. Like, this connection is mine and mine only. It's not open to the public, basically. So this will help prevent energy leakage, and it will also help prevent psychic attack. Another reason for veiling is to ground your energy. So if you've ever used a weighted blanket, it's kind of like the same philosophy. You have that covering, that weighted blanket provides that comfort, that security. I mean, it could even go to your favorite blanket, even if it's not weighted, or your favorite hoodie. Like, you put that on, or a cloak, and you feel like you're just protected from the outside elements, whether it's physical, like you're providing yourself with a warm coating or covering when it's cold outside, but energetically you just feel cozy and snuggly. So it's the same concept. Putting the veil over top of your head and down you just creates this comfort and makes you feel safe and secure. So it grounds your energy into your body, it grounds your energy downward, and it brings you back into yourself. A third reason is focus and boundaries, and I kind of combine these two together because to me it's almost the same thing. So putting on a veil, especially if you just veil during ritual or magical practices or meditation, putting on a veil creates a boundary between the magical and the mundane. So here I am, regular old Morgan. I put on my veil and then I'm stepping into magical Morgan, which I know a lot of what I personally preach is, weaving the magical and the mundane together. But there are some times, like when you go to meditate or when you are specifically setting time aside to perform a huge ritual or a huge spell. So you want something that differentiates your magical self or your magical time or your magical space from your mundane self, time, or space. I hope that really makes sense. So it's a way to, like, you put on the veil, you put on that magical piece to be like, okay, now I'm performing magic, which helps you focus your energy. It kind of blocks out the outside world. While I'm wearing this veil, I mentally, it's like a mental boundary. I am magical. I am here to meditate. I am here to perform magic. I am here to be my spiritual self. And then when you take it off, you're kind of stepping back into the mundane, back into the regular world again. So that's a big reason why I think veiling has become very popular with witches, because it gives you that space in between the worlds where you can immediately go from mundane to magical by just putting on a thin piece of fabric. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty transformative, So similar to a cloak, if that's what you do. But sometimes, I live in Arizona, so it's still, here we are mid-October, and it's still 90 fucking degrees outside. I'm not going to be pulling out the cloak that my mom made me when I lived in England that's like double lined and can withstand British winters. I'm not going to put that on to go outside and do a full moon ritual. So let me throw on a veil real quick, and then that's my space in between the worlds, And then a fourth reason why a lot of pagans or witches choose to veil is to honor their deities, their ancestors, or their culture. And this can be spiritual ancestors. This can be, your culture in an area or a region. But a lot of deities were either veiled deities, or it's kind of like a way of honoring them, much like there are Catholic veils where the women will put on a veil to go to church. So it's kind of that whole thing. Like, not only are you dressing up, but you're like, okay, I'm going to go honor my deities. So let me put on a veil as a way to show them that I'm here to connect with them in this time, in this space. All right. There are some veiled deities as well. For example, Hestia, who's the Greek goddess of the hearth, she is known as a veiled goddess. So if Hestia is one of your matron goddesses, then you might veil in order to connect with her. Hera, who is the Greek goddess of marriage, of course, we definitely associate marriage and veils. So if you want to honor Hera, you could wear a veil to do that. Demeter, who is the Greek harvest goddess, the mother of Persephone, she was also thought to be a veiled goddess. And then Cailleach, the Celtic goddess of winter, she's a crone goddess, but she is known as the veiled one. So if you want to connect with Cailleach, wearing a veil will help you connect to her energy. So just to kind of cover, a veil can be just about anything that covers your head. So more traditionally, you can go with a shawl or a scarf, or if you look up like religious veils on Amazon or anything, like there are some absolutely gorgeous Catholic veils that have beautiful lace work and everything. They're freaking amazing. Shawls are often used as well because a lot of them are made of lace or have just some intricate, gorgeous crocheting going on. But anything works. And veiling is not just a female practice either. So if you are listening and you are a pagan male, bandanas work, hats work, beanies work, or if you're a female and those are more of your cup of tea, any of those things that create a covering over your head that make you feel protected, that make you feel secure and ground your energy, they can all be considered a veil. And I think that's a big thing of the pagans who veil every day. They're using things like bandanas or scarves that they're tying around their head. Like these are forms, but they're doing it consciously. So when they put it on, when they get dressed in the morning and they put on the bandana or they put the scarf on, they are consciously like, this is my form of energetic protection for the day. And veils don't have to, go down and be wrapped around your neck and go over your face. And that's another thing to kind of touch on real quick is the process of veiling is looked at by some as a form of oppression towards women, especially because of some religions and how women have to cover their face and they have to veil. So a lot of the power of pagan veiling now, or veiling in general, is coming as a choice. It is a way of us to reclaim our power, not only as women, but as witches who had their hair cut off, hundreds of years ago during the witch hunts, or for the women who were erroneously called witches and, were killed. But it is a way of us to reclaim our power and reclaim that practice as a way to connect with our power and our deities and our spirituality. Okay, so pagan veiling is not for everyone. And if you are someone who views veiling or the practice of veiling in general as a way to oppress women, then by all means, don't add it to your practice. But if it is something that you would like to explore, then I definitely recommend it. And I'm going to get here in a second into my personal practice and how I incorporated veiling into my personal practice. But you can veil you can do it every day. And a lot of pagans are reclaiming that, or you can use it as a ritual tool. So as a practice that you only do before you meditate or perform magic or perform rituals or spells or whatever. Okay? If you're looking for a magical community where you can just be yourself, check out my Ink Spirit Coven. The Coven is an online learning circle for eclectic witches who want to learn new witchcraft practices and how to easily incorporate magic into their daily lives, all while being supported on their personal spiritual journey. And you'll have me as your magical mentor, sharing my knowledge, answering questions, and facilitating the online community. Head to inkspirit.com to learn more and join. And if unique witchcraft supplies made by witches for witches is just what you need, head to my store, inkgoddesscreations.com, to see what we have to enhance your magical practice. We also have the Ink Goddess Creations box, a monthly subscription of magic mail filled with exclusive items that fit a magical theme. Head to the site to see this month's theme and sneak peeks. So as far as my personal veiling practice, like I said, I was first exposed to pagan veiling during a class earlier this year that I took. And then the last class or lesson that I took for my own personal Avalonian studies was a lesson about robing and how when you go in to do your magic or your ritual or journey to Avalon, you should robe first. You should have an entire magical outfit that you keep that is just for your spiritual time. And I read the lesson and I tried it and it was not for me. Robing, having a complete setup that I had to, undress, dress into in order to just go meditate or connect with Avalon was a little bit much for me. But as I was reading this lesson on robing and the concept and the idea behind robing of having that magical thing that you can step into that differentiates your magical from your mundane, I said, well, that's what I do with veiling. So I pitched the idea when I got done with the lesson. I shared my findings with my mentor and I said, look, I tried the robing. It wasn't for me, but I do veil. And let me tell you, I have different color veils for different purposes or for different deities. So like in my mind, this is the same thing. And she, emailed me back and she was like, no, I love it. Thank you for trying it, but not everything is going to be for every person. And yes, veiling is a very viable substitute to robing. And I was like, all right, cool. So I do personally use veils. Mostly they are just scarves, like the lightweight, either silk scarves or cotton, but they're the lightweight ones, or shawls, just because I actually had some already. Like I had a very nice black one that was some roses and, with the fringe hanging off of it. But I mostly use scarves or shawls. And for me personally, it is just a thing that I do when I am getting ready to meditate, or for me, it's traveling to Avalon. So my sacred space is in Avalon, and I will put on my veil when going into my sacred space and while I'm either meditating or connecting with my guides or connecting with my deities or performing magic. And then for me, when I'm done with all of that and like I'm closing the circle, I remove the veil after that, and the veils stay in my sacred space. They are there to help me. So like, I will go in, cast a circle, put on the veil. Or nope, I go in, put on the veil, cast a circle. And then I take down the circle and remove the veil. So it's my first act of magic in preparation for whatever I'm getting ready to do. And sometimes it's just meditating. So I do have different veils for different goddesses based on color. I have one specifically for Avalon. So if I am just going to Avalon to meet with my guide, I wear that color veil, or it's really a scarf. I personally have found, because I have several goddesses, I have several deities that I work with, I have found that for me personally, the Morrigan has responded to me wearing a veil. Morgan Le Fay has responded to me wearing a veil. Mary Magdalene has responded to me. Bridget and Rhiannon are kind of indifferent. They're like, you can wear it. You don't have to wear it. That's my personal experience. And then personally, when I do travel to Avalon, I have a color veil that I love and that it helps me. It just wraps me almost for Avalon, there's a veil, or there's a mist. And there's a mist that surrounds Avalon. So that's another connection for me as to why I chose to veil, is because when you go to Avalon, you are surrounded by a mist and you are to part the mist and to be able to get in. And so for me, the veil acted as a mist. And so while I'm in Avalon, I am veiled and I am protected by the mist, if that makes sense. The veil is the mist for me. And then when I come out, I take it off and I'm no longer in Avalon, which is very similar to, the myth and everything. Like those who are not part of Avalon will never find it. They will never see past the mist. So for me, the veil acts as a mist where I can perform all of my magic and I can do all of my witchy things, and I love it, and I'm protected and I'm there and I'm connected to the energy of Avalon. And then when I leave, like my magic is covered up and protected. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And I also use it for meditating. So even if I'm just meditating to connect, it's mostly to connect with one of the goddesses. I will put on their color veil or their veil that I've chosen for them, start the meditation. And then when, I'm done, I take it off, I thank them, and then I take it off and put it away. And that's the end of my magic or my meditation. So for me personally, I just started doing it this year, but I highly recommend it. And it is something that I've tried a couple of different things, especially this year, diving back into my Avalon studies. I do have formal studies that I've been going through. There's a lot of things that I've been learning, and I like some of them. I don't like others, like robing wasn't for me, but veiling really was, and it just adds another layer of that magical witchy feeling to my personal practice. So I do recommend it to people. Like, give it a try. See if it's something that you resonate with, even if it's just to meditate or to perform magic, and, go from there. See if you can incorporate it into your everyday magical practice. So this came up. This is a prime time for this because not only is the veil between the worlds thin, and, if you want to add that extra witchy layer, you can veil and then walk through the veil. There's so many things. So many things about the English language that's fun. But we are actually doing, for the month of November, for the Ink Goddess Creations box. I know, shameless plug, but that it ties in. It really ties in. We're doing Magic of the In-Between, which is helping you walk between worlds. So there is a veil included in this month's box. So if you ever wanted to try pagan veiling without technically spending money on a veil, because you're not only getting the veil in this month's box, but you're getting a bunch of other stuff for your magical practice. So you're not actually, dropping money on a veil for you to be like, this wasn't for me, but one is included in this month's box. Ordering for this box will be open through November 1st. And then the boxes ship on November 6th. And the box is called Magic of the In-Between. That is our Ink Goddess Creations box for this month. And yes, spoiler alert, but if you follow me on social media, you've already seen the pictures and or videos. I don't know what's been posted at this point, but it is an absolutely beautiful one that I'm not going to lie. I bought it because I wanted it for my own magical practice, and I just bought enough for all of y'all too. So definitely head to the website, inkgoddesscreations.com, to check that out if this is something that interests you. That's all I have for you all today. So I definitely want to thank you all for being here, for giving me a platform to share my knowledge and my experiences, because I know pagan veiling is a hot subject right now. It really is. It can be deemed as controversial, just depending on your thoughts on veiling. But this is my journey and my experience with pagan veiling, and I hope that you all appreciate me sharing my experience and my journey with you all. So thank you so much for being here, and until next time, I will see you all then. Bye.